The man, who was once considered a god long ago, sat unmoving on his age-worn seat, amid a sea of rotting wood, shattered concrete, and several lifetimes of regret. He was injured, yet refused to show it. To others, the wounds would be classed as lethal. To him, a mere inconvenience. How many times had he tried to die? 3, 4,000, each variation of failure. No matter what he did, he would live on, albeit with the memory of the pain clear in his mind. He had witnessed death, both at a distance and up close, both as an aggressor and as a victim. He had been killed, sometimes in the most violent fashion, other times by his own hand, a simple injection of the latest lethal concoction to try and rid himself of the curse. A curse, his word for it. Not the word the other gave it when he rescued him from that cliff face all those years ago. Then, the man had lost his one true love. The immortal one had no children that lived beyond their 10th birthday. Their names were forever etched in memory. Hasta, Cretia, Elizabeth, Ulfus, Lucian. After the 5th, the man decided to not have any more. It was just too hard on the soul. How long had he been alone? Not the solemnity of a monarch on the throne, but truly alone. 1,500 years, give or take. He tried to stay out of the way, to make the smallest ripple in his part of fate's tapestry, a skein slightly out of place in time. Something that should never have been. Why ask for this all those years ago? He thought he could change the future, change history like the one he knew as Neoth once believed. If only the one he once called friend knew what would become of him. The man ensconced in shadow wondered if he knew their fate all along, those like him. The survivor of the macabre scene around him so desperately wanted to make an impact back then, to become something. What a waste. The stranger on the throne, caked in blood and viscera, looked up and stood as a creature in damaged and battered armor walked carefully across the human detritus, remains of those whom foolishly assaulted the stranger's solemn domain. He weighed up this next foe. It was decided. He would allow this new foe to approach, hear what they had to say. Perhaps they would ask the right questions. Perhaps this was the one. The newcomer in this place of death stalked closer, checking the corners for unseen dangers. No way a single man that wasn't an Astartes could have eliminated all these. Then again, this was no ordinary man. An individual with several lifetimes of battle experience, utilizing different ages of weaponry, tactics, and strategies to best even the most competent of foe. An avatar of war, a gestalt of menace with no equivalent outside of the Assassinorum. Yet it seemed the unfettered wrath he was rumored to possess was not evident. Or perhaps the stranger in garments swimming in gore weighed up his latest encounter with the stoic demeanor of a patient hunter.
Lorcan Firebrand, I assume.
The newcomer spoke, his words echoing through the blood-strewn room.
Once upon a time, yes.
The man at the throne spoke quietly, letting his words travel just enough to be considered a whisper.
I have spent many years trying to find you.
The challenger to the apparent throne purred.
Have you come to take what must be given?
A challenge, the newcomer thought. The next words would be chosen carefully.
I have come to talk. Many of your kind have over the years. All tried to take what must be given. They paid with their lives.
Lorcan mused.
Then I am different. I wish to learn.
The enshrined one, who was no mere man, stood up at the battered focus of the room, mulling over the words, like a connoisseur would consider a fine glass of aged wine.
Then we shall talk. Perhaps you are the one destined to do what many have failed to do.
Lorcan spoke cryptically.
What is that? To finally end me,
Lorcan replied. Both stood on the balcony, a city ablaze below them. Disparate factions fought for control of the hive, a veritable treasure that contained enough resources to see a single faction survive the terrors that threatened from the heavens. Clouds of noxious vapor swooped down from lofty heights, blanketing vast areas with choking pollutants. They were not at the highest peak of the hive, merely a mid-hive level, but one that allowed for this vista of the wastes beyond the sprawling cityscape. An immense explosion, courtesy of a downed transport, continued to burn and pop as massive stores of promethium containers cooked off at the site. Smaller inks of light indications of medium-sized ordnance between warring teams vying for control of the refinery the transporter crashed into.
Such a waste. What was the governor thinking?
The stranger considered the actions that led to this moment.
Succession from the Imperium was not the advice I gave him. Yet he pushed forward his insane machinations.
Lorcan stared into the distance, considering his part in the hellscape beyond. A tinge of sadness marred his thoughtful features.
And tried to kill you as well.
The nameless one answered the unspoken statement.
He learned my true identity, saw an opportunity to strike, and failed in the attempt.
Lorcan concluded the sentence. The stranger nodded solemnly.
We never found his body.
The stranger interjected into the calm of their locale. His battle-worn leather jacket bristled in the warm wind that forced them to brace against the major cataclysmic detonation at the furthest reaches of their sight. The refinery had finally reached its apocalyptic crescendo. A new star appeared to the north. The heat wash was apoplectic. Tears, but not due to loss, threatened to leak from hardened eyes. He's back there. What's left of him? The fool. I warned him, you know. To secede was to bring death. Lorcan nodded behind them, towards the carnage in the darkened chamber.
I doubt he believed it would be his own,
the stranger added, mirthlessly. Lorcan paused and turned his head to take in the visage of the stranger. His arm bled from a solid round embedded in the shoulder armor, and a gash across his brow matted with blood and hair. It gave him a stern but heroic look. I never learned your name, sir.
Sorry. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Lord Inquisitor Mauja Zage of the Ordos Hereticus.
I thought as much. I saw your void ship from here arrive in orbit, followed by your army.
The defenses were not an issue. I did not require Astartes' support for this insertion.
However, Lorcan added,
I have support on standby should I need it.
For me, Lorcan assumed.
Yes. Will I require assistance?
It remains to be seen. A pregnant pause filled the sudden quiet, hissing fires crackling in the distance adding a fiery ambience. You said you wished to learn.
I do. I wish to learn about you, your history, your gift, your role in all.
The Inquisitor gestured around them, to the hive and the glowing embers to the distant horizon.
Of this.
Then let us be honest, you and I. Oh, and it is not a gift.
No.
It is a curse. Lorcan began his life's reverie, his origins back in the distant past. Apollo, Cretian, the Lionheart, the Bloody Rose, Armada, the New World as his kind had called it. Mauja Zage listened intently, only briefly interjecting to clarify certain words he had never considered. Humanity's history was storied and mostly lost to time's decay. To hear fantastical tales of those known as the Mayans, Incans, Aborigines, and those that dwelled amongst the stars. Zage reckoned he could fill an entire arcology with the knowledge this man had at his disposal. Yet a sadness oozed from his words. Regret, perhaps. Lost loved ones. Bitter betrayal. He wished they had time to discuss the finer notaries of his life. Regardless, the Inquisitor's mission was clear. arrest the one known as Lorcan, detain for further heretical questioning, and conduct exterminatus on the planet. The inhabitants had fought hard to deny the Imperium the tithe. Although the planetary defenses were stark in comparison to the might of the Imperial Navy, their stubborn defensive posture near the Mandeville Point had cost many ships and lives, Astartes and human alike. Only by dint of his Emperor-given authority had he stalled the gene-forged warrior-born from a major planetary assault. Internecine feuding and political infighting had reduced the defenses on the planet to levels sufficient to be considered pacified. That, and the devastation of the macro refinery, had culminated in significant infrastructure damage. It was enough to force the hapless defenders between choosing to die at the enemy hands or at the blades of their former planetary kin. Mauja Zage listened as this man, who by now had identified himself as no mere human, finished his history lesson.
Satisfied? Who was the man that saved you and gave you the gift of immortality?
The Inquisitor asked.
I told you it is a curse,
Lorcan corrected with a certain level of annoyance.
His name was Neoth. He helped me through the dark times of my youth. He was old even back then. I had no idea I was born this way, yet he did say it was not a curse. He called it an opportunity. That name. Does he live still? In a matter. You know him by another name.
The Inquisitor seemed stunned by the sudden realization.
After all,
Lorcan added with a small devilish smile,
you appear to act in his name.
He pointed to the aquila that dangled from Mauja's lapel. The Inquisitor was speechless.
I don't want it anymore. What?
The Inquisitor was stunned into stupor, as if lost in the conversation. He simply stood, mouth agape, before the last words registered in his mind. Lorcan answered the unspoken question.
To live. You wish to die? Yes. However, I cannot by my own hand, nor by dint of another. I must freely give myself to them.
Lorcan spoke, expecting his counterpart to understand.
Why haven't you?
Mauja asked, regardless if he understood the strange logic.
I have been waiting.
Lorcan turned, pulling a blackened piece of flint from a hidden sheath within his garments, holding it out. It glowed dully. It oozed dark potential. The Inquisitor slowly unbuttoned his sidearm and prepared to execute this man.
For you.
He turned the blade in his hand, handing the weapon that did not look sharp enough to cut, yet alone kill, to the Inquisitor.
Why?
Mauja looked at the blade, and up to Lorcan. The Inquisitor's hand still hovered over the holstered sidearm.
It must be this way. The blade was found here. It was used once before by a friend I once knew. He no longer lives. His deed was done. Now it is your time to take what must be given.
Lorcan refused to give any further insight as to the origin of the weapon.
Take this and end me here.
Lorcan gestured to just under his ribcage and up into his heart.
But you have so much more to give.
The Inquisitor tried to talk sense into this man. He was now sure was no traitor, but someone lost in time and outside of the normal entropic decay of the human condition.
I have shared all you need to know. Those who try to kill me simply want power. They always want power. You, on the other hand, want knowledge for its own sake. Regardless of your status or position, you are a good man.
The last 5 words held weight in Mauja's hardened heart, but seemed to resonate.
Do it, please.
Lorcan spoke with the calm serenity of one wishing to pass on. It made no sense, but then again, when did anything nowadays make any sense to him? He had questioned in the quiet moments his position in the Greater Imperium and whether he was destined for more. Could he make a difference? Is it possible to do so?
They will hunt you down once they know the truth.
Lorcan appeared to be able to read his next thoughts. What if this story rings true and he is granted this curse? Would his comrades come looking to take what was given?
I know.
Mauja Zage answered his own question.
I am sorry.
Lorcan smiled weakly, preparing to end his life at the hands of the stranger in front of him. He held the tip of the blade to his chest, took a deep breath, and at the speed of thought, pushed himself hard against the Inquisitor and the pointed piece of dark flint. It easily parted flesh and bone, severing his heart in twain. A brief flash of light filled the darkening balcony as time seemed to stop. The Inquisitor stood from his prone position. He felt nothing different. The blade had vanished, and so had the man he had euthanized. He felt cold, a void deep down, something he had not sensed before. It was a lack of something vital. If a word could express how he felt at this moment. His soul had been forcefully removed, pulled through the meat of his being, and ejected into the cold dark of nothingness. Something ephemeral had grasped it and fled. With the loss came sudden realization and a question. Perhaps the man was right. Am I now immortal? A word echoed in his mind, a word he had heard rumors of before. Banned scripture that whispered in the long-fled corridors of the Imperial Palace, lost to time and war. Perpetual.
Inquisitor Zage, are you alright? We lost your biometric signature for a moment. Do you need assistance?
His team called through the Vox bead in his right ear, regardless of his order for radio silence. The Vox disruption of this place had suddenly lifted. The noise of war flooded through the embedded transmission.
Yes, I am fine. Call my transport. It is time to leave this place.
Your orders, my lord.
His second on board his cruiser in orbit requested.
Burn this planet. Leave none alive.
His Arvus lighter landed in the open courtyard, devastated by weapon impact craters and the detritus of battle. The Inquisitor looked around as he walked up the platform, hoping to see the man he had grown to understand. Yet a whispered sentence echoed. One he did not remember hearing. It lingered in his senses, a feeling more than a memory, yet words came to the fore. Only time will grant you full understanding of the curse you have brought upon yourself. Good luck.
Excerpt taken from journal belonging to former Inquisitor Mauja Zage, found on abandoned freighter near remains of planet once known as Cadia. Inquisitor declared excommunicatus traitoris. Timestamp 36.1 post CMM41.
He was right. The man lost to time. He was right. I was wrong. It was no gift. My friends, if one could call the wolves in similar clothing to my own, came to take it. They tried to end me. How wrong they were. I had to defend myself. What was the alternative? Submission. Experimentation at the hands of an inquisitorial biologian. Vivisection and immolation. Pain remains, regardless of how I choose to end. I fell from the top of a hive to be dashed against the rock creep below. I have voided myself in orbit to burn in the awesome power of a star. Detonated a life eater vial in my own chamber. My body dies, but my essence remains. I reforge. I reform, but the memory of said agony remains. I am to be declared a traitor, my spies inform me. So be it. I know the truth of this gift. Damn that Lorcan. I heard but did not listen. I wanted to make a difference, but with this gift, to live is pointless. I must do better. Be better. I cannot do this within the suffocating confines of the Imperium. There must be a way. This stolen freighter is my escape. My apologies to the pilot, but you cannot follow where I must go. I need answers. Only those that now live beyond time can truly understand my plight, and may give me further understanding. The transponder is active. I await their dark counsel. May the Emperor forgive me.